Okay everyone, so welcome to another one of our lessons, and for today we'll be talking about how we can go and insert a video on the side of our about me here. Just a simple video that I actually made coming from one of the shoots that we've done in a previous work that I did for a photography session, and we'll be using the video tag so that we can go and maximize the use of videos inside of our document. So if we go through here, we can see that this tag will be used for embedding video content in a document such as a movie clip or other video streams. It will be containing one or more source tags with different video sources, and then the browser will choose the first source it supports. So the text between the video opening and closing tags will only be displayed in browsers that do not support the video element. We can see here that these are the supported video formats in HTML, MP4, WebM, and OGG. And we do have here the attributes that we can use inside of the video tag. So we do have the autoplay that will be allowing us to start playing as soon as the video is ready. The controls that specifies the video controls such as play and pause button. We have the height attribute that will be setting the height of the video player. The loop attribute that specifies that the video will start over again every time it is finished. We also have here the muted attribute that will be muting the audio output of the video. We have the poster here, which specifies an image to be shown while the video is downloading or until the user hits the play button. And we have the preload here that specifies if and how the author thinks the video should be loaded when the page loads. And of course, the source attribute of the video file and the width attribute that will be setting the width of the video player. So let's go and try to implement that in our project here. So let's go and open our code editor. Now I'm going to use the video tag inside of our about section. So here I'm going to go and place it inside of a div. So let me just go put a div class here. Let me just say div here, and then video source would be, we're not going to use the source here, but instead we'll use the source tag here. Okay, so inside of that we'll have the source attribute, and then put the sample video that I prepared here, and maximize the use of the type attribute for the video and MP4. And of course, let's set the width. Let's say we'll have at least 320 for the width, and the height attribute will be 240, and let's use the controls attribute here. And of course, let's go and say here that your browser does not support the video tag. Now let's try to go and save this, and then go to our browser here and check what will that look like. Okay, so we now have a video here that we can play. And if you try to play it, okay, we now have a video that we can go and use and insert into our document here. My advice will be for you to test out and go to the links that are here inside of our attributes so that you would see on how you can go and further understand the use of the different attributes that are specified here. So for example, here we know that if we add the loop attribute here, let's go and try to do that here in our project and go and add the loop here. Let's save that and then refresh our browser. You would see that if we try to go and play this, so you would see that the video is now in loop and it doesn't end unless we go and pause it. Okay, so it's repeating itself. So I hope that gave you an idea on how to use the video tag here. So I would suggest that you go and try to experiment again and try to play around with how you can use the video tag. And now what I want to do here before we go and end this session is for us to go and give this a class name that I will call about image because I don't want to use the video element here. Instead, I would want to go and put a profile picture here. And that's why I'm going to use the image tag here, and we'll be using the images, and I'm going to use the rod profile here, and this will be profile picture. Let's save that and try to refresh our browser here. There we go. Now let's go and target this image and go and apply some styling. Let's go up here and have an about image, float, left. Let's go and refresh. And now we have the image on the left side of our about me description here. Now let's go back to our code editor and then apply some styling. So I would want to go and make use of about image pic here and go and use border radius 50% so that we can make it circle and give it a height of 300 pixels, width of 300 pixels, margin 60 pixels top and bottom, 50 pixels left and right, and a border of 2 pixels solid black. And of course we need to go back down here and go and apply that class name inside of our about image. So where is that? So we do have our image here and give it a class name of about image pic. And now let's go to our browser here and refresh, and we now have a circular image with a little bit of border. So we can see now that the text here was wrapped when we floated our image element here, or the div element that contains the image. And I just want to go and try to do some redesigning of the paragraphs that we have here, and at the same time the link or the anchor tag that we have here that contains the link to our resume. So let's go and try to remove the indentation here for our paragraphs here. So let me just go back here in our paragraph styling, and I'm going to make this 0. Let's see how that will look on our browser. So there you go, no more indentation here. Now let's try to go and remove the text align here. I don't want the text align for our first paragraph to be centered. And let me just see here how that will look. Now let me just go and change some of the content that I've made here, because I would want to add some description about myself. And this is something that you might encounter in the future when you're doing your blog. You're going to need to update them. And if you're working for a client and they will be asking you if you can go and update the sites that you have made for them and update the content. So this is a common practice that you might encounter in the future. So I want you to have an experience with regards to this. So I'm going to go and have this separated into 2 paragraphs. So instead of having this whole set here as a paragraph, I would want this to have a separate line and this to have a separate line. By the way, everyone, you don't need to copy all of the things that I'm doing here. You can go and apply your own description about yourselves. And of course, you can go and use some of the things that we are doing here. I just wanted to run you through the elements and the tags that we will be using for creating a website. But if you try to look into how we're building the site right now, we are actually creating a template that you can already use, so that you don't need to start from scratch when you're going to be building your own websites in the future. You just need to understand how all of the elements here, or the markup that we used here, work, so that it will be easy for you to go and change and apply certain layouts for your site. So let me just go and replace this here. I would want this to be a web designer, musician, and I like writing instead of creating original stories. And I'm going to replace this with a closing paragraph instead of a line break. And here I'm going to open an open paragraph here, and I'm going to remove this line break here. Let's see how that will look on our browser. Now let me go and add some more content, and let's go back here in our code editor here. I'm just going to use this class about paragraph 2. So instead of an ID, because IDs are unique, so we're going to use a class here. Oops, sorry, about p-2, and I just want to go and copy the same content that we have here. Sometimes you might want to go and remove some codes that you think that is no longer necessary, everyone. So let's try to test things out. Okay, so we were able to change the color here. Okay, so I just wanted to emphasize this. That's why I'm going to go and change the color of that. And then I'm going to go and put some text here that are more related to myself rather than using the lorem ipsum here. Let me just go and copy the text that I have here in my notepad, and so that it will be a lot easier for us. I don't need to go and type it anymore. So I'm going to replace the text that we have here with a different text, and I'm going to replace this with writing helps me exercise my innovative skills, and also here. And I'm going to remove this lorem ipsum here, and now let's go and try to. So you can see here that I've added some additional content about myself, so you can also do that. So we'll just be adjusting some of the stylings here. So one thing that I also want to share to you here right now is the idea of commenting things out. As you can see here, I didn't erase it, but I erased it here because I wanted to see what would happen if I did not use a display block property here. So one of the common things that I usually do when I'm in doubt of some of the properties that I'm changing and I don't want to totally remove some code that I've made is to comment them out. So that's just one trick. And you would see sometimes I would have some styles here. So if ever I would want to go back to this kind of styles that I've applied here, I can always go back to that and then start figuring out what could be the problem with the layout that I'm doing in my project. So that's just one trick. I don't erase things, I comment them out, and I give descriptions about what that comment is all about. Now, before we go and end this session, let me just go back to our style sheet here and add some stylings in our link resume. And I want to add some text decoration, -2 pixels, 0 pixels, 1 pixels, black. And here, I would want to go and change the value of the first value here to -2 pixels. And I want this to be 1 pixel. And the font size would be 1.3 rem. And the padding would be at least 1 pixels. Now let's try to go back to our browser and refresh this. Okay, I can see here that the changes in our link resume span worked. However, here, let me just go back to our code editor here and check what could be something that I made here that made it not work. As we can see here, I made a mistake here. I wanted text shadow and not text decoration. So let's go and try to apply that in our project here and refresh. And there you go. We now have some text shadow behind our name here, my name here, that links to our resume. Okay, so that will be all for this lesson. I'm hoping that you got some good take homes for this session. So thank you and see you on our next lessons.